The air was thick and heavy with the promise of rain. For many long months, the small village had been completely dry. The earth was hard. The ground was cracked and thirsty. The trees stood perfectly still in the warm air. Their green leaves were hidden under layers of soft brown dust. The birds were quiet. The wild animals rested deep in the shadows, hiding from the hot sun. Everyone in the village was waiting. Everything in nature was waiting. They were all waiting for the water to fall from the sky. They were waiting for the rain to wash their world clean. This waiting was a quiet kind of pain. The heat of the sun pressed down on the houses every single day. The dust floated in the air and settled on every window. But underneath the dust and the heat, there was a strong feeling of hope. The villagers knew the rain would eventually come. They just did not know when. In a small, simple wooden house at the very edge of the village lived a man named Elias. Elias was an older man. He had lived in this exact village for his entire life. His face was covered in deep lines. These lines showed his advanced age. These lines also showed his many years of hard work under the open sky. He had worked in the farming fields since he was a young boy. He knew the shape of the land. He knew the colors of the sky. He knew the changing of the seasons. Elias loved his village deeply. He loved the quiet mornings before the sun came up. He loved the peaceful nights when the stars filled the sky. But lately, the quiet of the village was not peaceful for him. The quiet was full of heavy worry. Elias lived alone. His house was very simple, but very neat. It had a smooth wooden floor. It had a strong metal roof. He had built parts of this house with his own hands many years ago. He took great care of his home every single day. He swept the wooden floor to remove the dry dust. He wiped the windows clean. He repaired the wooden walls when they became weak. He tried to keep his home perfect, even when the world outside was dry and dying. The dry season was extremely long this year. It was much longer than last year. In fact, it was longer than Elias could ever remember. Every morning, Elias woke up long before the sun appeared. He put on his old clothes and his simple shoes. He walked slowly down the dirt path to the village river. The river was usually full of fast, clear water. But now, the river was low and very slow. The water was shallow and muddy. Elias carried 2 large metal buckets. He bent down and filled the buckets with the cool river water. The buckets became very heavy. He carried the heavy buckets back up the hill to his small farm. His arms burned from the effort. His back ached with every step. He poured the water onto his small garden. He watered his vegetable plants very carefully. He gave each single plant just a little bit of water. He wanted them to survive the terrible heat. He needed them to survive. This daily work was exhausting. Elias was getting older, and his body was losing its strength. His shoulders always felt heavy. Sometimes he just wanted to stop working. Sometimes he looked at the dry, cracked dirt and felt a deep, dark sadness in his heart. He worried constantly about his small garden. He worried about his future in the village. He also felt very lonely. Many of the young people had already left the village. They had moved far away to the big, crowded cities. They wanted easier jobs. They wanted modern lives away from the difficult farming seasons. Elias stayed behind. He stayed because this land was his true home. His heart belonged to the village soil. All of his best memories lived inside the wooden walls of his quiet house. But the loneliness was sometimes harder to survive than the hot weather. He missed the bright sounds of human laughter. He missed the joyful sounds of young children running and playing in the mud. He missed the happy energy that the rainy season always brought to the people. He felt like a forgotten tree standing alone in an empty field. Then, on one late Tuesday afternoon, something finally changed. The air began to feel different against his skin. The warm, dry wind suddenly stopped blowing. The leaves on the trees stopped moving completely. A strange silence fell over the village. Then, a brand new wind arrived. This wind was cold. This cold wind carried a very special, wonderful smell. It was the rich smell of damp earth. It was the fresh smell of wet green leaves. It was the beautiful, sweet smell of the approaching storm. Elias stepped outside his wooden house. He stood quietly on his small front porch. He tilted his head back and looked up at the sky. The bright, blinding blue sky was completely gone. Heavy, dark clouds were moving in fast from the horizon. They were dark gray, deep blue, and dark purple. They rolled slowly across the sky like giant ocean waves. The hot sun hid safely behind the thick clouds. The whole village became dark. But it was not a scary darkness. It was a comfortable, cooling darkness. It was a darkness that promised relief. The first drop of rain fell. It hit the dry dirt in front of Elias with a soft, gentle tap. Then a second drop fell. Then a third. They began to hit the metal roof of his wooden house. The sound was like a slow, steady drum beating in the distance. Tap, tap, tap. Elias gently closed his eyes. He listened closely to the sweet music of the very first raindrops. He felt a freezing drop of water land on his warm cheek. He felt another wet drop land on his rough hand. He did not move to wipe the water away. He let the clean water wash his tired skin. He breathed in the cool, wet air. His chest filled with a feeling of pure joy. Quickly, the slow drops turned into a steady, heavy shower. The dark sky opened completely. The rain fell hard and fast. The gentle tapping sound became a loud, powerful roar. The dry, thirsty earth drank the falling water eagerly. The dusty brown leaves were instantly washed clean. The dry yellow grass seemed to turn bright green right in front of his tired eyes. Elias sat down on an old wooden chair on his porch. He watched the heavy rain wash his world. He watched the water create tiny rivers in the loose dirt. He watched the water fill the cracks in the dry ground. As he watched the storm, he felt a massive weight lift off his chest. The deep sadness in his heart washed away with the falling rain. His terrible worry simply disappeared into the cool night air. In that quiet moment on his porch, Elias realized something extremely important. He realized that nature always finds a way to heal itself. He realized that the long, dry seasons of life do not last forever. The painful, difficult times do not last forever. Sometimes we are forced to wait. We must endure the uncomfortable heat. We must carry the heavy buckets of water every single day. We must continue to work hard, even when our bodies are tired and our minds are sad. We must practice quiet patience. The rain will always come eventually. It might arrive late. It might take a much longer time than we expect. But the rain always returns to heal the broken earth. The rain continued to fall for many hours. The gray evening slowly turned into a dark black night. The darkness outside was total and complete, but it felt incredibly safe. The loud, steady sound of the rain acted like a heavy, warm blanket covering the entire village. Elias sat down on an old wooden chair on his porch. He watched the heavy rain wash his world. He watched the water create tiny rivers in the loose dirt. He watched the water fill the cracks in the dry ground. Elias finally stood up and walked inside his house. He closed the heavy wooden door behind him. He found a small glass oil lamp on his table. He carefully lit the lamp with a match. A soft, warm yellow light quickly filled the small room. The light pushed away the shadows. He walked to his small kitchen area and made a fresh cup of hot black tea. He held the warm ceramic cup tightly in both of his hands. He sat down near the window. He listened to the heavy rain smashing against his metal roof. To Elias, it was the absolute best sound in the entire world. It was the beautiful sound of life coming back to the village. It was the pure sound of hope. He sat there and thought about his long life. He had lived through many terrible dry seasons. He had faced many difficult and painful times. He had lost friends. He had felt deeply alone. But he knew now that after every single difficult period, there was always a fresh start waiting for him. There was always a brand new beginning. Outside in the dark, the choking dust would be completely gone. The morning air would feel cold, clear, and perfectly fresh. The local birds would return to the trees to sing loud, happy songs. The entire village would feel alive and new again. This is the natural circle of life. We all experience moments of pain. We all experience long seasons of drought and sadness. We all experience periods of frustrating waiting. But if we wait long enough, we get to experience the beautiful rain. The rain washes away the thick dust of our daily struggles. The rain gives us the fresh energy we need to grow again. Just like Elias waiting patiently for the rain in his village, we all have times when we feel exhausted. We all have times when our biggest goals feel very far away from us. Learning something completely new, like studying a new language, can often feel exactly like a long, dry season. Sometimes you work incredibly hard for many hours. You study new words, you practice listening, but sometimes you feel like you are not making any real progress. You might feel heavy, tired, and very frustrated. You might want to stop trying altogether. During those difficult times, you must remember Elias and his quiet village. You must remember the dry, cracked earth waiting patiently for the dark clouds. Every single day that you practice your English, you are carrying heavy buckets of water to your own garden. Every single time you listen to a story like this one, you are preparing your mind to grow. Your progress might seem very slow right now. Your daily improvement might feel completely invisible to you. But if you keep carrying the water, and if you keep trying your best, your own rain will finally come. One day, your understanding will grow deep and strong. Your English words will flow easily and naturally, just like the village river after a massive summer storm. You must have deep patience with yourself. You must trust the slow, natural process of your own personal growth. Take a deep breath. Breathe in the cool, fresh air of hope. Keep working hard every single day. Keep listening. Keep learning. Keep moving forward. Soon, the dry season will end, and you will see your own beautiful garden begin to bloom.